At the onset of the COVID-19 pandemic, businesses around the world shuttered their offices and moved their employees to work from home. This global seismic shift was not just impressive, it was an economic imperative.
More than half of the economy is being driven by working from home during COVID. If we didn't have the ability to work from home, the economic collapse would have been worse.
Cloud-enabled tools played an enormous role in allowing the economy to keep ticking. They've allowed people to continue to collaborate and communicate, to access data, to communicate with clients and customers.
Economists estimate the U.S. economy shrunk by 10 to 12% compared to the end of 2019, and that number could have been closer to 15% if not for cloud-enabled tools.
By the way, it's enormous. If you think the U.S. economy is roughly $20 trillion, if you lose, 3-4% of GDP, that's $500 billion. That pays half of healthcare across the entire country or most of U.S. schooling. So these are enormous figures.
Not only has the transition to remote work helped prevent total economic collapse, it has also sparked our collective imagination and opened our minds to a new world of possibility about the way we'll work in the future.
When it hit, organizations faced a huge amount of change.
Business leaders did the previously unthinkable. They moved their entire workforce to remote operations in just a matter of days.
We knew our customers needed us to move fast.
Larry Augustin, a VP at AWS, oversees the team who built products like Amazon Connect and Amazon Workspaces, which enables customers to work remotely.
We were prepared. We proactively scaled servers. We proactively scaled capacity in order to respond.
Thanks to all of the technologies, this has actually been a relatively smooth transition for many organizations.
For some companies, the operational challenges of the pandemic were compounded by growth. They needed to enable their staff to work remotely while simultaneously meeting an unprecedented demand for their services.
We have customers that needed to grow their capacity in response to COVID-19 10, 15x.
That ability to scale on the cloud allowed companies to avoid major outages that would have severely compromised the ability of hundreds of millions of people to do their job.
We would not be able to scale up to the demands of the number of people working from home if people had to do it with physical devices or on-premise hardware, on-premise data centers.
Prior to the pandemic, working from home in the U.S. accounted for only 5% of working days. That number jumped to 40% and accounted for nearly 60% of labor income, meaning more than half of the economy is being kept afloat by those working from home.
I think companies were really hesitant to adopt flexible work from home policies because people were afraid that the work wouldn't get done.
Lisette Sutherland is the author of Work Together Anywhere and is a business consultant for organizations who've made the transition to working from home.
Once managers actually know what it's like and they've got the processes and systems in place to be able to have remote workers, then those fears are quickly allayed.
Once forced to confront the stigma head-on, companies learned something experts like Stanford professor Nicholas Bloom have long understood. Remote work works.
I've done a lot of research on working from home in China, where we took 500 people and had them move to full-time working from home in the space of a month. The people working from home were 13% more productive. So, that is an enormous number. 13% is almost a day extra a week.
Even more incredible, Bloom's study found by adding employee choice, productivity of study participants increased to 22%. That's equal to employees working nearly a 7-day work week.
Companies are now reevaluating their work from home policies because they've learned something from this pandemic. They've learned that working from home can be far more successful than they ever imagined, and that there are new ways to invest in office culture and to foster collaboration and creativity.
I think that COVID and this pandemic has really accelerated remote working by at least 5 years in the last 6 months. We are going to be moving to a hybrid collaboration model. And what I mean by hybrid is that some people will be choosing to go back to the office and some people are going to choose not to go back to the office if that's a choice for them. The future of work is choice.
One of the things that gets me excited is that companies are far more willing to take risks than they were before. We can do things differently. We can change how we work.
That's perhaps the silver lining. Companies and institutions were pushed to embrace technologies. opening up new ways to serve their workforce and their customers.
I think we've learned this year in 2020 that conditions can change rapidly, and we need that agility to respond to whatever hits us. Just remember that we're in an unprecedented time. We have the opportunity really to throw out the traditional rule book, do things differently, and think about what makes the most sense, and take advantage of that.